everyone. We are here with executive producers and showrunners Joanna Lewis and Kristine Songco, and they have a new show coming out today on Peacock and Hulu called Fright Krewe. Ladies, how are you?
Good. How are you? We're excited.
You should be. The show's a lot of fun, and yeah, the big opening day. Oh my God. Okay, so can you tell me about Fright Krewe? Can you kind of just put it sort of in a nutshell?
Sure. It's about five teenagers who are given supernatural powers from Marie Laveau to save their ward from an ancient demon. But they are definitely not friends, and they have a lot to learn about themselves and each other before they're ready to save anything. And there's a lot that they end up learning about their town, like they're vampires and rugers and evil spirits, that all that the stuff that they grew up thinking were legends. It's all very much real, and the fate of their ward is in their hands.
So kind of like a spooky breakfast club set in New Orleans,
Yeah.
mixed with Scooby-Doo. Perfect. Now, for the sake of our viewers, can you explain what an executive producer and what a showrunner does, just real quick?
Sure. So we oversee everything from the very beginning. So writing the concept, everything through the boarding process into animatics, then into our post production. So we are in like the musics, where do we you know what I mean, and the sound effects and the editing and everything. We're just, if there's a part of the process, we're involved with it, and it's been pretty awesome to be able to see something from start to like finish for us.
Yeah,
Right.
and our background is in writing, so we're not artists, and we have an amazing team of artists that help us out on that side. Shane Ackerman and Peter Markowski oversee our design team, and yeah, we would not have a show without them.
Sure, we've gotten the opportunity to work with incredibly talented people. Our artists were out of control, amazing. Our designers are out of control, amazing. And like all the like to our post team, we have people who went above and beyond always to make this show what it was. We're really grateful for the team that we have.
Yeah, and so as a producer showrunner, your job is to get the job done, and sometimes that means finding the best people to do it. So okay, when did you begin developing the show, and how did that kind of come about?
So 4 years ago, or more, maybe, I think at least 4 years ago, we were working on a show called Kipo, and Ben Kaywood from DreamWorks approached us and asked us if we wanted to help out on a horror show for kids. And Kristine and I are both comedy writers, and we were like, us? You want us? And he was like, yeah, you guys want to do YA? Like, give this a shot. It's Eli Roth and James Frey. And we were like, okay, okay. And then he was like, it's set in New Orleans, and it's got a voodoo as a backdrop. And that was kind of when Kristine and I were hooked. We are huge YA nerds. We love anything having to do with mythology, legends, and lore. And I had just come back from a trip to New Orleans where I learned everything I thought I knew about voodoo was wrong. And so I was very excited to like jump into this. And Kristine is the most amazing partner in the whole universe.
Oh, so Kristine, had you been to New Orleans?
I hadn't, and
Have you been though?
I still have not.
Oh,
I need to go immediately, but it was a thing where Joanna's excitement for this was infectious. And so just did, big deep dives into New Orleans and took virtual tours and everything. And yeah, just fell in love with this.
Yeah,
yeah, go ahead, please.
I was just gonna say really quickly, like pandemic was a big reason why we couldn't like get Kristine to New Orleans.
There was that. But like yeah, I fell in love with New Orleans the second they handed me a drink to go. I was like, And then, you know, the rich history, it's just so, I mean, I don't know, it's just so packed with lore. I mean,
It's
how did you mine all of that for a show?
There
so
was so much that we kind of had to like pick what we could do because even just looking up, you know, when you look up things to do in New Orleans, it's like food and then haunted tours is like number two. So there's so much like legends and lore already baked into its history that we kind of had to be like, we can only pick a handful.
Yeah, then what? How did you pick? Like, how did you pick? I mean, obviously, Laveau, but how did you whittle it down?
so we knew that that we wanted to deal with supernatural creatures because again, the town has so many cool legends.
Yeah.
And so what we kind of found ourselves doing is like, okay, we know we wanted to include like a little bit of a bunch of different things, and we knew that there was going to be stuff that, you know, might be a little too dark for for this show. So like there's I mean obviously if you ever heard of the Lalaurie Mansion, that is huge New Orleans lore, but little dark for what we're doing here. So we wouldn't include things of that nature in the show. So that was really kind of like our whittling point, was like we knew that we were trying to do gateway horror. We knew that this was going to be for, you know, people who were dipping their toe into horror as opposed to like veteran horror fans. I mean, we hope that if you're a veteran horror fan, you can still find something in the show to enjoy, but we wanted to make sure that this was like, you know, safe enough that you could, like I said, dip a toe in and be like, okay, it's not
Right,
horrible. Do
right.
this, that
Yeah.
kind of thing. Yeah.
And you seem to temper it. You mentioned you guys were comedy writers, and you seem to temper a lot of the, I don't know, scary moments with a little bit of like humor.
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, one of the things that we kind of found was that having the funny moments also make the scary moments scarier because you let your guard down. You're like, oh, okay, this is, you know, a fun moment. And then it's like, there's a scare. So it helped us in that respect, but also we just can't help but crack jokes all the time.
Now, what's the relation to comedy and horror? Because you know, you said initially you were comedy writers, and you were like, why are they asking us? But did you find that it was kind of an interesting fit?
So I think there's actually a weird Venn diagram overlap between comedy and horror because comedy is so timing dependent and so is horror.
Uh-huh.
So being able to understand like the cadence of a joke and how that needs to fall and land, it helped with having to figure out like, okay, we've gone so long between scares, it's, you know what I mean, we don't want it to be predictable, you got to keep it fresh every time, you've got to have something different all the time, and you've got to kind of be on top of your timing. So I think in a way being comedy writers was actually really helpful to being a
Uh-huh.
horror writer.
Uh-huh. Kristine, what are your thoughts on that?
My mind went to just how it was an interesting shift too, because we early on in our careers, we would work on, you know, when we worked on like Fairly Odd Parents, for example, it would be a thing where like we had to have like X amount of jokes on a page.
Amazing
And
show, by the way. I'm sorry, Dan.
it's a great show. And just saying like, this is just a big shift from that, where it went to like, all right, the jokes that we have, we got to really like craft and pick and choose kind of a thing. And so that was just like, as we were talking about it, where my mind went to like, oh, it helps, but it was also just like a shift mentally, but in a good way.
It seems as if it would be a bit more plot driven, a bit more on the nose as far as how it's, you know, sticking to the actual scene. Uh,
Yeah.
you know, so
And
you
sometimes it was the cast just improving.
oh
Yeah.
really? You let them improv in the sound booth and everything. That's so
We
cool.
did, because
Yeah.
our cast is wildly talented. They're just wildly talented individuals. So there were things that they would say that we would die at, and we're like, okay, how do we get what they just said into the scene, and how do we make it work within the context of the story? Like, because it was just so good.
We touched on it before, but we talked about kind of how to pick and choose what what was too much or too dark. And it's interesting that your work kind of lives in a space where kids are getting a little older, things can be a little bit scarier. And would you agree that kind of when things got too dark, you guys leaned to fantasy? Is that true?
Yeah, 110%.
And what is it about veering towards fantasy that makes things more palatable?
Well, I think the most basic answer to that is it's not real for people. So you're able to have that level of disassociation from it. So if a vampire is going to attack you, it can be very scared by it, but you're not going to necessarily worry that you're going to encounter a vampire later that day or anything like that. If you were talking about anything that happens in our world, like you're getting into trauma, and trauma is something that we were definitely not interested in exploring for a kids program.
Well, I mean, yeah, for sure. So it's more about the fantastical and being able to process it through that lens.
Yeah, exactly. You can see how brave you are without like reliving trauma.
Now, do you think that scares for kids kind of is an important genre or space?
Yeah, 110%. Because kids are always looking for ways to prove themselves and to be brave and to face a challenge. And this provides a safe way to test your mettle, to see how much you can handle, to see what you're capable of doing, and to be like, I was brave enough for that, so I'm cool. You know what I mean? Like that's fun for kids, and I think it is important. I think it's really important.
Yeah, so do I. I love the gateway horror. I love it. Now you worked with Eli Roth and James Frey. They created the show, and then they, brought you on. But everybody kind of knows Eli Roth from Hostel or Green Inferno. What was it like to work with him on this very different type of horror project?
It was great. Him and James are great partners. We could not have asked for better partners throughout all this. And it's a kind of the perfect balance because Joanna and I we are horror wimps.
Oh,
So,
and he did a show. So good job.
We did this, and this is kind of just the perfect marriage of that. It feels like where we're doing, gateway horror. So you have people like us, and you have people like Eli.
Yeah. Kristine and I always knew we did a good job telling a story if Eli was like, guys, maybe this is too scary. We were like, we did it.
Seriously, there were episodes or stories that you pitched that maybe were too scary for Eli Roth.
Because he was being sensitive to what we were trying to do. But yes,
I love it. I love it. I love it.
Yes.
That's
so that
awesome.
was how Kristine and I knew we were doing a good job. If Eli was like, guys, I don't know about this, we were like, all right, we did it.
They can take it. Well, honestly, I loved what I saw of the show. I only got through the first episode, but it was phenomenal. And I'm gonna go ahead and watch the rest of it. Because it was just fun, and the colors, that like you said, the artistry, super, super saturated, beautiful. So best of luck on this show. I hope to see another season. But I do have one final important question. Since this is being released around Halloween, what's your favorite Halloween candy?
Ooh, Take 5.
Kristine was ready. That was locked and loaded.
Take 5 because it's underrated as a candy. It has a pretzel and peanut butter and caramel. It's so underrated. Take 5.
Excellent. Joanna?
It's a really great answer. I don't want to steal it, but it's a really great answer. I think if I had to pick a second, then I would choose a Reese's peanut butter cup or a Reese's peanut butter pumpkin specifically because it's the better ratio of peanut butter to chocolate.
Right. There's a better balance.
Yeah,
Mhm.
there's just a better balance in the pumpkin.
Excellent. Well, as long as you didn't say black licorice, I mean, we're good. We're good. Joanna, Kristine, thank you so much for taking the time. Thank you for working on a fun little gateway horror show for kids and just giving us just a little bit of joy there. And
You
best of luck on this, and I hope to see you again.
right back at you. Thank you so much.
All right, you guys have a good day.
You too.
Congrats.
Thank you.